Okay, well, my name's Jim Trocchi, and I grew up down in Wilson area of Windsor for the first 21 years of my life. My whole extended family lived in Windsor. They moved here because it was handy to go to Hartford, where they worked. And I remember Windsor, that part of Windsor being different than the rest of Windsor in that people thought you were part of Hartford because our phone exchange was Hartford. Was the when they had the two-letter exchange, Jackson. Windsor was Murdoch, but down there, that part of Windsor was Jackson. And the bus was nearby. We did our shopping in Hartford. And in fact, when I went to high school, a lot of people say, "Well, aren't you really? Don't you really live in Hartford?" You know. And so you really felt like you lived in Hartford. But it was a great place to grow up because right down the street was the Connecticut River. And me and my friends, we spent so much time down here, fishing, hunting, boating, even swimming. And back then it was really bad. So Wilson, I have a lot of great memories of Wilson, especially with the extended family. I mean, Christmas time would come, and we were all close by. We could walk to each other's house. And even a few years ago, I went back, and there was a program for the Ebony Horsemen at Keeney Park, because I belong to the Friends of the Office of State Archaeology, and we sponsored a program for them down at Keeney Park. And it was good to go back there. I remember hanging around Keeney Park because it was close by. It was a great park. My father always played golf there, and there was horseback riding in the park, and there was a lot of activities there. And as far as swimming, we never had a swimming pool in Windsor until probably the 60s, and that was the high school swimming pool. And we would always go to Hartford for swimming, Pope Park or Coles Park, Goodwin Park, or the one you can see, well, it's not there anymore where the footbridge is. There used to be a swimming pool down there at Riverside Park. That's where I learned to swim. And so I lived in Wilson for the first 21 years, and it was really great. Then I ended up, when I got married, we moved to Deerfield, and that was close by. That was handy too, because we only had one car, and my wife was working. So if she needed a backup, she had the bus right there up the street. And then I've been living right in this neighborhood here, where we are right now today, for 46 years, and most of my life raised my kids here. And we just live right off the school grounds. In fact, my education is strictly in Windsor. I went to Roger Walcott School, which is, up until recently, it was a regular school for kindergartners, but it was two older buildings that were in front. That building that stands today is a newer building that I think was put up in maybe the 60s or 70s. And my children all went to Windsor High School. They graduated from there. So Windsor's been a great town for me. I like it, and everybody knows me around here, I think, because they see me running. I was a runner for many years, and now I'm a walker, and I'm out here every day. I walk by here every day. And I was a substitute teacher in town for many years up until COVID-19. And so I used to come to this here school, all the schools, but this one here in particular. So I know a lot of the teachers and met a lot of good friends. And now I was fortunate in my job I worked in Hartford a lot, but then he moved to Windsor. So that was a blessing. So for many years I was able to work right up in Day Hill Road area. So that was fun. And even still now, I work part-time well, I go all over the state, but I sometimes go there, which is handy. And I haven't had to go far. I wanted to move out to the Litchfield Hills many years ago, but because of my job, getting called out at night, I says, no, I don't want to travel from Litchfield Hills, because I was a Boy Scout and I loved the Litchfield Hills. It was really fun growing up there. So I think I'll stay close to Hartford. So I was comfortable here, so I've been here ever since.
That's great.
And I don't want to bore you anymore.
Oh, no, it's very interesting. I was actually going to ask, because you mentioned some of the buildings that were built over time. And so how would you say Windsor's changed since you've lived here? And especially in the different neighborhoods, they must have.
Well, a lot of new schools, and there haven't been any new schools lately. But I remember the oldest school in town when I grew up was the Pequannock School. It was built in the late 40s, and so today I've been there many times for substituting jobs, and it's kind of neat to go back there. It was even built before the present high school. And the present high school, of course, has had many renovations. I think at least 2 or 3 since it was built in like 1953. And even my extended family all went to the schools here in town. We had my grandfather, my grandmother, my 4 uncles, and my father. We all lived right here in town. And it was pretty nice. I guess just my cousin and I are the only ones left. But Windsor, yeah, I like it because it's more active today. They have more things available to you for us to do. And with all the swimming pools, Pequannock swimming pool, my wife wanted me to put up a swimming pool in the yard, and I says, no way, I'm not coming home taking care of a swimming pool. So for $35 a year, we got a season's pass for the whole family down at Pequannock Pool. And it was great, swimming lessons, adult swim time. It was really fun. Good memories.
Yeah, sounds like
Little League was there, so we had some good times. And if I look on the board here, can I think of anything else? Well, organizations, the Windsor Historical Society, I've been a member since the late 80s. And I'm very comfortable there. Saturdays are really nice. I love being at the desk, and it's so fun to get people from California, Oregon, Washington, state of Washington coming in. A lot of times, all day long, I'm getting people from the West Coast.
yeah.
Then some days it's slow, it's quiet, nobody comes in. Last week, I think we had Ohio, I think, or Kentucky. I'm not sure. Somebody came in from there, tracing their roots. But so many people from all over the country trace their roots right back here in town. So you probably know that.
Yes, becoming familiar with the history.
Yeah. So,
Is there any other stories you'd like to tell?
no, I guess Wilson has my kind of fun memories because all my friends, we grew up there, we hung around, we go trapping muskrats in the brook there to sell for furs. We pretended we were Canadian trappers or something. We were lucky if we caught one. But we do that. We go fishing. We love going fishing and coming home bragging what we caught. And pike fishing, shad fishing. That's what I liked about the Connecticut River. You never knew what you were going to catch because there were so many different species that lived there. And then I remember when they were building the Bissell Bridge. That was a thrill for me because they built the Bissell Bridge, the State Street Bridge in Hartford, and the Glastonbury Bridge, all 3 at the same time. It was a big project, state project. And that was a thrill for me because they built this dirt road across the river, and it had just one opening for the water to go through. So I had no place to go swimming, and there was a place over in South Windsor, so I was a thrill for me to be able to walk over to South Windsor and go swimming. And then when they built the bridge, to keep us kids out, they had to do a lot of things because there used to be a maintenance walk underneath the bridge that was wide open. So we used to use that. And finally they put a lock on it, but that didn't stop anybody because we climbed over on top. Then they finally had to do some welding and shore up things, and now it's impossible to get in here. Because I remember fishing from one of the piers, crawling up in there and one of the piers and throwing my line out. But yeah, we had a lot of good stories on the river, on the water. I remember a rafting trip. My friend and I, we used to always get into little innocent problems. And one day we walked up, crossed the Bissell Bridge, walked up the river on the South Windsor side. We were on what we call this embankment. It was a farm field, and then there's this embankment where all these old cars embedded in the embankment to hold the soil together because the river used to come around and wear the bank in. we seen some kids coming in with a raft down the river. So they pulled over and we hopped on and we went downriver on the raft with them. They made this homemade raft, and they came from up in East Windsor. So we were supposed to get off at Bissell Bridge, but the current was taking us down farther. Meanwhile, somebody reported us. They had fire department, police department, and we got off down in the southern part of Windsor near Meadow Road, if you know where that is. My friend and I jumped off, and they stayed on because they were going to East Hartford to visit some people. We took off, went home, because my friend says, "You better get going. Get going. The police are looking for you guys, you know," because they thought we were in trouble. So we went home, and we stayed in the house, and that night we're watching TV, and they got the story of it on TV. and while we were in the house, it was so funny. This guy comes with a uniform hat on. Oh, he says, "Oh no, they found out who we were." And ended up being the meter reader. Back in those days, they had a meter reader with a hat on. So that was a funny incident.
Yeah, it's a great story.
There's always things to tell about the ice on the river. I remember the ice used to freeze up pretty good. We could walk out from the South Windsor side. We could walk out to an island. I wouldn't walk out on this side because it was too much of an expanse. But I remember a good story was this old German fellow. He must have been in his 90s when we were just not even full teenagers, and we used to help him. He used to do catch eels and sell them down in Park Street in Hartford. So we used to help him set out the traps. So we'd go out in a boat, and he'd tell us what to do, bait them, throw the traps in, and then the next day we'd go out and pull the eels in. So at afternoon there would be no fishing, so he'd let us use his boat, and with the motor and everything. So my friend and I would use his boat, and I remember one day we decided to go all the way to Hartford to the old Charter Oak Bridge. So we get all the way down there, and the motor quits. So I'm down in Hartford at the Charter Oak Bridge. I ended up rowing all the way back to Windsor. And when we got back there, he was worried about us. He was waiting at the landing. But we had some fun times.
Very exciting childhood.
I could keep talking forever. I don't want
Well, thank you so much for telling your stories. They were very, very interesting.
Okay, well, thanks for listening.
Yeah, of course.